legal front, we have the latest from Atlanta and debate if Fani Willis will and should be taken off the Trump case. And speaking of the former president, we'll catch you up on all of his trials, and we take a particularly close look at what Jack Smith has been up to.
I wanted to get your thoughts on Fani Willis. Last week we saw this. I characterized it as a high-tech lynching. It was essentially the Republican white power structure in Atlanta or in Georgia saying, how dare you take on Donald Trump? We are going to cut you down to size. I'm curious your thoughts on why and how she got dragged into this and where it's going and what the status of it is right now. It kind of fell off the radar screen of the news.
So only thing I would add is a salacious high-tech lynching because she's a woman and she's a black woman just trying to do her job.
There you go.
And of course, Donald Trump is a white man, as are all the other defendants in the case. So, this case is going nowhere. All of the other defendants that filed motions to disqualify her and the team, they were denied, and maybe except for one. And this one is really going nowhere. But, you have to understand two things about motions. In this case, the motion is filed by the defendant, Mr. Roman. He has the burden of proof. So even though Fani Willis did a lot of testifying on her behalf, went through a lot of detail about her relationship with Nathan Wade, there were other witnesses. I mean, she was defending her right to be there. But it really is the flip. If whoever files the motion, that's the one that has to prove the motion. So in this case, it would be the defendant. And so he hasn't really proved anything. But the other thing that, because this is a high stakes political case, as we all know, the other thing that's involved is not always so much of legally filing the correct motion, which you should always do as an attorney. You should not file a frivolous motion that you're going to lose. But this is also, unfortunately, in the political arena, Tom. So I think that what they have accomplished with the motion, assuming it even does, it will likely be denied seriously. But what they have accomplished is to try to muddy the jury pool, because this is more enticing and exciting for a jury to hear about than the 11,000 plus votes that Donald Trump was trying to steal.
Right, and it was wall to wall all over the media. I mean, I just kept cringing. I mean, they were just trying to drag her through the mud, and they didn't have. I mean, now we've got this in California, in Napa Valley. Apparently, she and Nathan Wade took a trip out to California and went into wine country and did a wine tasting and bought a couple of high-end bottles of wine. And the owner of the winery has now come out and said, she paid me in cash. She wouldn't let Nathan pay for anything. She paid me in cash, and she paid for the whole thing. And, totally backing up her testimony. Do they have anything? And why have we not heard any more about this? I mean, what is the status of this? Is Scott McAfee or McAfee, the judge in this case, how and when does he rule on whether Fani Willis can remain the prosecutor?
So I think what I've read, of course, I'm not down here in the courtroom with him. I've read that he's going to rule sometime next week. But everything that was said in the case does not go to disqualification. That is why Fani Willis kept going back to, I'm not on trial. Donald Trump and the defendants are on trial. Now, there are instances where, just to put it in perspective, because all of the information that came out, all the testimony, it doesn't go to when you would disqualify a prosecutor. So leaving it in the setting that it's in, one scenario where it would be a disqualification is if Fani Willis had a relationship with Nathan Wade and Nathan Wade was the judge on the case. That's an automatic conflict of interest.
Right.
Or if Fani Willis had a relationship with Nathan Wade and Nathan Wade is a defendant in the case, automatic disqualification.
But these are not the case.
These are not the case. This is not the case. And this is under Georgia law. I'm speaking under Georgia law. So those are like the examples. So even if she'd had a relationship with the Judge McAfee, 5 years ago, that would more than likely be a disqualification, because that goes to, that could possibly, that prior relationship or relationship could affect her prosecution and the outcome and how the judge rules, and be prejudicial to the defendants.
Sure.
That's the key. It has to be something there that relates to why the defendant is likely to not have a fair trial. Who she had a romantic relationship with, who she paid for what she reimbursed. How does that tie in with the defendants? It ties in no way with the defendants, nor does the money that Nathan Wade is getting for being hired as the special prosecutor. The only instance where there's, and this is rarely the case, the only instance where there might be something if he was hired or retained on a contingent fee basis, which really doesn't happen. Contingent meaning contingent on the outcome, and therefore it relates to the case. None of this relates to the case. And I just feel bad for her that she had to go through that. But as a public official in one of the highest stakes case that our country has ever had, a Black woman trying to bring a white former president down, this is where we are in America.
Yeah, it's absolutely shocking, frankly, to me, Debbie. We're talking with Debbie Hines, trial lawyer, legal political commentator, former prosecutor, author of the forthcoming book, Get Off My Neck, Black Lives, White Justice, and a Former Prosecutor's Quest for Reform. Debbie Hines. Debbie, what are the next steps? I mean, is Scott McAfee just, or McAfee, forgive me for mispronouncing his name.
I'm the same.
Yeah, is he just like, waiting a week, or are they still getting testimony and it's just not being televised because it's not hot stuff?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think he's waiting. I think they've concluded, if I'm not incorrect, and they're just waiting. But the other thing in terms of, the public and you and I want to know the urgency of what's going to happen. This judge has other cases. He has other dockets. He has other things going on. While this is foremost in the minds of most people that are watching it, this judge has another full courtroom of other things of other cases that he's handling that have happened before this. And so it's not fair to speculate what's going on with the judge. Why is he taking so long? The judge is doing his job as a judge.
Right, but what has happened here, in fact, whether it was intended or not, I'm guessing it was, is that the Trump defense has succeeded in delaying the trial by several weeks, right?
Oh yeah, now that's a reality. The Trump defense has definitely delayed the trial, no matter what the outcome is, even when the outcome turns out to be favorable and Fani Willis can remain on the case. They have accomplished that goal. I forgot about that one. They've accomplished the goal of trying to muddy the jury pool, which would be a majority black jurors, prospective jurors. But they've succeeded, which is the ultimate goal of Donald Trump and his defendants, which is delay, delay, delay.